Guys, it's that time again. It's Rick Ginn, and you are on the Rick Ginn YouTube channel where we talk exclusively about wholesaling because I have an obsession with it. Um, welcome to the live stream. It is 100% live. I promise you. Today is the 25th of March, around 5:10 p.m. Just so you know, it's live. Today, we're talking about how to get ahead of 99% of the wholesalers out there. And no, I don't have a software gimmick to give you or anything like that. I'm going to talk about like right up here. And I'm going to tell you probably the biggest problems that are holding most of you back. So if you want to sit back and understand, if you've just found us with wholesaling, I appreciate you. What I want you to do is jump over to freewholesaling.com. This is a 100% free course that me and my son have created. It's going on 4 years. And yes, it is the most popular, the most used wholesaling course out there. Not only because it's free, it's because it is the most effective, it is the truth, and it gets you results in wholesaling. Not only will it get you your first deal, it'll get you to your first $100,000 in wholesaling. Guys, I've been doing this 21 years. If you can get to the truth of wholesaling, you can do it. Wholesaling is actually easy. It's us human beings that make everything so complicated. So today we're going to talk about how you can get ahead of 99% of the other wholesalers out there. And guys, I have the blueprint. The problem is most people mechanically try to figure out how to get the best MAO, how to get the best software, how to calculate the best RV, how to do comps. None of that's going to make you a great wholesaler. Is some of it required? Absolutely. But if you can't get this right, there's nothing else you can do right in wholesaling. Let's face it, guys, you come over to wholesaling from usually a job, or maybe you just got fresh out of school. And the reason you're here is because you're beyond frustrated and you understand the American dream has massively pivoted. It is. If you think you're going to work a job to get ahead and get financially free and freedom of your time, I guarantee you will not get both doing that. Now, there are some exceptions. And if you love your job, I'm fine with it. You want to do wholesaling on the side, I've got no problem with it. But if you're like me and you tried the American dream, I tried the college education, I got the good corporate job, I did the whole thing. And 12 years later, I almost pulled my hair out. And I just decided to take a leap of faith. Nothing could be worse than what I was doing there. And that's how I wound up in wholesaling. And long story short, let's cut to the end. You guys know my son. I taught him at 16 how to do this, even though he's a significantly higher IQ than me, probably from his mother's side. Remember, we always try to marry up. And the idea is, even with his high intellect, I told him going to get a job is going to break you. I still believe in this today. Guys, you are all programmed from the day you go to kindergarten that you need to go to college and get a good job. And to me, a job is settling. It's just the truth. If you want to do it, that's fine. Understand what you're getting into. If you're going to go to be a teacher because you want to help kids out and stuff, I know it will satisfy your fulfillment, but it's not going to make your family happy. It's not going to make your bank account happy. And if you complain and you cry about it, it's your own excuse because you already know where it's at. I agree. Some jobs used to pay a whole lot more than they do now, but the world's changed. So if you're here for that, I commend you. I went on a 12-year journey. I wasted 12 years of my life. It wasn't a complete waste. I did learn a lot, but I learned how, I learned what I didn't want to do to get ahead. So if you're new to this, just make sure you go over to freewholesaling.com. And once again, if you want to get started on it, wholesaling is actually easy. As I said, most of us humans make it very complicated because this is what our parents did to us. This is what our friends did to us. And don't even get me into the education program. And honestly, I give more credit to teachers out there because they're amazing people. I think they're massively underpaid. But whenever you take a government job, understand you're going to have financial limitations. And that's the problem with it. So if you're a teacher out there and you want to do wholesale on the side, I would love to show you how to do it. I was fortunate to actually had some teachers that cared about me when I grew up. And I believe the teachers helped me get through some tough times in my life. But for the most part, the education system is so broken. We're teaching such antiquated techniques that it's almost irrelevant in today's society. So not everyone's geared to be a scientist or a mathematician or something like that. We need business people. We need to come up with more modern solutions to help out society. And that's all wholesaling is. We go where nobody else wants to go. So without further ado, let me dive into it. If you have any questions, just put them in the questions. And then also what I will do is I will share, if you guys want to do a one-on-one and you want to just talk to me, I do this 100% free. I do it as a public service, and I will put it up here in the comments. Let's see here. First come, first serve. I will put it in there, and it's under Rick Ginn, so you know what's up. So awesome. I'm looking at some of your comments. Great job, Alex. He says he put 2 properties under contract. By the way, I love Birmingham. It's like a really good market. So I've spent some time there. So I'm a little bit biased. So awesome job there. And once again, I appreciate all the shout outs and everything like that. So let's get into what we're talking about, how to get ahead of 99% of all other wholesalers. And I don't really have a set order of this, but I will try to put them in what I think is the most logical order. And I'm going to start with the first one. And this one's a big one. And this is one I really struggle with. And if you don't grasp this when you get into wholesaling. So if you're coming from being a teacher, you're coming from customer service, you're coming from Uber Eats, I don't care what you're doing. The fact that in society where you have to have 3 jobs just to get by, you already know what the problem is. You're going to have to solve a lot of problems and create value. And I don't think the job system's set up to do that. We're all not cut out to be $5 million CEOs. And honestly, those people go through a long corporate career commitment and they do a lot of butt kissing. Sorry, just going to tell you how it is. And I was never going to be meant like that. I couldn't stand the politics in corporate America after 3 years, much less 12 years. And so nobody wants to go through that, because even if they're paid $5-10 million, like what do they have to give up early in their career? Example, my company, you guys all know who I used to work for, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, where you, what was that, Step Brothers, or you can like create your I don't know what they said on it, but regardless, there's my ADHD kicking in. So if you have ADHD, wholesaling is wonderful for you. Is they wanted me to relocate to California, and you can imagine how I was not happy with that. And then after that, it was, where else was it? Oregon, Utah. I turned them all down. And I was told if I don't take one of these jobs, I'm going to get fired. Well, guess what? I worked on firing myself through wholesaling. So I don't like to be told what to do, because sometimes money's not everything to me. So that's what gravitated me towards wholesaling. Plus, I can help a lot of people out and solve problems. But here's what happens is I came from a corporate background, which means all you do is care about what everybody thinks about you. And you don't even need to be in a corporate job to do this. A lot of you guys have this from high school. Let's face it, in high school, we all wanted to fit in. I was guilty of this too. I just wanted to fit in no matter what. If it was clothes, if it was the type of bike you were riding, couldn't change the car because never had one. Couldn't change the house because we lived in a very broken down house, like a lot of you. And so I just tried to change the things that I did. And you kind of said what you said to be popular or have to fit in the crowd. The problem is that now has come back to haunt you, and it haunts you terribly, because trying to fit in with the average people around you means you're just average at best. And it doesn't mean they're bad people, but I'm just here to tell you it's not going to get you anywhere. So if you know that going into it, the main thing you have to understand is when you come from the corporate world or a government world or anything like that, and you come over to wholesaling, whereas all you did is kiss people's butts to make sure you fit in, you actually have to do the opposite here. What do I mean by that? You got to stop caring what others think. Honestly, the sooner you adapt this, the better off you're going to do. In fact, if you do what everybody else thinks you should do, you have no freedom in your life. And honestly, you're definitely not going to be your authentic self, and you're going to struggle with this terribly. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and test it out. I'm here to tell you right now that trying to do what others think you should do At the end of the day, it's your life. Do what makes you happy. I've always said that. But trying to fit in so you can be popular for a party or something like that is short-term thinking, and it will get you nowhere in a hurry. Remember, I always teach you how to be a marathon wholesaler as opposed to a sprinter. Sprinters never make it. I've been in this business for 21 years of wholesaling. I am dominated by sprinters. 90% of this business is sprinters. Let me look real good, real quick. Let me show you this business I have. Look at this amazing coaching program. Look at all these wholesaling students I have. I thought you were flipping real estate. No, I'm flipping students. I'm making more money. I'm doing this. I'm going to do whatever makes me the most money possible. And they all disappear in the end. And I'm fine with it. I've watched so many people come in and out of wholesaling. It's an absolute joke. The people that do the best in wholesaling are the ones that just keep chugging along and keep doing it. And they don't worry about what others think. They don't go to the latest trend, and they do really, really well. The ones that just want to run and they want to make $100 million right off the bat, they all gravitate towards coaching. They have these ridiculous coaching programs, not all of them, but most of them. And this is why you all get spun, because wholesaling is nothing but master marketers. And when they figure out how to market to regular homeowners, they switch it on people like you that are craving the information. So we created freewholesaling.com to solve that problem. I was told it's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. You're going to get killed. You're going to get blacklisted in the industry. And guess what? Me and Zach still did it. You know what? It took a lot of crap for 3 years, actually 4 years. I don't care. Right here on this thing, I said right here, I don't care what a guru thinks about me. I just don't care. I don't need their endorsement. In fact, the more they endorse me, the worse I look. The only thing I care about is you, the wholesaler, learning the business. Why? Number one, I have a very successful wholesaling business. I do a local market. I do lots of virtual markets. And I do a national JV program through sellmypaper.com. So with the last thing I want to do is have a guru coach tell me, hey, Rick, I don't like what you're doing. And if you stop doing that. So I've been threatened multiple times. I think it's absolutely hysterical. And for that reason alone, I want you to understand this. If me and Zach 100% committed to this, it doesn't mean I'm mean to people. It doesn't mean I'm nasty. It just means I beat to my own drum. I do what I feel like doing. And if I find something that the marketplace needs, I go out and tack and I give it. The market information forever has been lacking freedom of information in wholesaling. Pay me 10 or 20 grand. Let me teach you how to do this. You got to be kidding me, right? So the proof is in the pudding, because I teach people how to do this all the time for free. And they're like, Rick, well, how do you survive? You're not going to make any money. I'm like, I make plenty of money wholesaling. I don't care. YouTube pays me just to even talk to you guys. How can I get a better win than this? And that's how I look at it. I'm so tired of people telling you stuff's for free. Gee, it works for Gary Vaynerchuk, works for Alex Hormozy, pretty big guys. And nobody liked when they did it at first too. So I think it's funny. Most of the people don't like what me and Zach do are basically old school guru wholesaling coach types. And every one of them, if you go back to the roots, you'll trace it back, and you'll find they're all integrated together. Meaning, I get your students, you get mine. We all make a ton of money together, and that's fine. People can do what they want. I just don't do that. I don't care. I will go on anyone's show and talk to anybody. It is a national invite to you. But like, if I don't believe in what you're doing, I'm going to tell you it. And I believe strongly in that, because forever in the corporate America, I was suppressed in this. And it took me the first 3 or 4 years in wholesaling to understand, if I don't adapt this philosophy on my screen right here, I'm going to get killed. And I did in the beginning, because I was trying to make everyone happy. The only piece I want to make happy is, number one, I make my family happy. I make myself happy. And honestly, I make myself happy first, because you can only put out in the world what you can give out. So most people that are mean and nasty to people, that's who they are. That's all they can give you. So if you're not happy with yourself, you're not going to give it out to your family, and you're definitely not going to give it out to other wholesaling partners. So stop worrying about what everybody thinks of you. It doesn't serve you. You've never been put on this earth to make everybody happy. It doesn't work that way. So knowing that, honestly, if you can get that one part, you'll go a long way. Now, this is a big one right here. Ready? Treat wholesaling as a business, not a hobby. If you treat wholesaling like a hobby, it will be a hobby. And hobbies always die out over time. Businesses are machines that have to be taken care of on a daily basis. I said a daily basis. Even on Sunday, you got to think about how you're going to attack your week and do everything. Or my first 2 years, I worked through Sundays because I was so far behind. I didn't understand the business. I had a lot of learning to do. So you've got to stop treating this business like a hobby. If you don't know if you're running a hobby or a business, it means you're running a hobby. Why? Good businesses make money, they make sound decisions, and you live, eat, and breathe it. A hobby, you just kind of occasionally do stuff in it. That's the difference. Now, here's the really cool part. If you've treated wholesaling like a hobby and you've actually made really good money with it, imagine if you dedicated yourself full-time to doing it. Now, guys, this isn't a requirement. I actually had to do wholesaling as a hobby when I first transitioned over. Why? Because I had financial obligations I couldn't get out of. I had 2 young children. I had a wife, a mortgage, everybody depending on me. So I couldn't just give up my corporate job. So what did I do? I worked nights and weekends in the first year just to make up for my deficiencies to replace 1 year of salary. Once I hit my mark, I dove in the business full time about 6-8 months later, somewhere in between that. And that was it. I got myself fired. I actually fired my boss, one of my favorite stories in the world. I walked in his office and said, I just don't want to do this anymore. What do? They tried to throw an incredible more amount of money at me. They tried to throw me another new car. I didn't want it because I had freedom, and I never had freedom in a corporate career. So freedom has always been my calling to go into wholesaling. And if that rings true to you, understand it. I never got in this to be super rich. Let me repeat this. I did not get into wholesaling to get super rich. I needed more money, don't get me wrong, but I didn't plan on being a super wealthy person. That just came with it. So I wanted freedom of the time. Now, the freedom of the time was enabled me to spend a ton of time with my children, something I did not get as a child. And I desperately wanted to get back to my children. So if that rings true to you, it worked out well. It was never perfect. But one of the reasons why you see Zach spending so much time with you is because I spent a lot of time with him when he was young. Why? Because I was wholesaling. It was easy. When you guys are complaining about like your kids crying or like Johnny's spilling this while I'm trying to talk to a seller, dude, embrace it. It's some of the best times I ever had in my life. I thought they were stressful at the time, but honestly, it was a gift from God that I could spend with my family and my kids. And to this date, I spend a ton of time with my daughter. Yes, I have a daughter, and I spend almost every day with Zach. And why? Because I did wholesaling. I made a decision. I decided I wasn't going to put up with it anymore. So I stopped treating it as a hobby. How did I do that? I went all in. When I decided to go all in, I burned every bridge I had, and that's all I had was wholesaling. I lived, eat, and breathed it. In fact, the first 2 years, past that first 6 months, I was a bit obsessive. Now, part of this was my ADHD, for full disclosure. Now, any of you who suffer from this, unfortunately, I had no idea what it was. I didn't even know it existed really until my mid-40s. And I finally had a doctor tell me, I think you have ADHD. I'd like to do some additional testing. I'm like, what are you, nuts? And I was pissed off at first, but I got to be honest, it answered a lot of questions in my life. I did not fit in school. I mean, I fit in, I was not a good student. I was a C student. I had brilliant runs between math and English, and then I'd do just as bad like months later, and teachers couldn't understand. I just get bored. I learn a different way. I do not learn like every other kid does. To me, I have to immerse myself when I do something. I cannot go slow. So wholesaling was an incredible deep dive for me. So if you're going to do it, go over to freewholesaling.com, do a deep dive, and this is the best thing. I can only go all in. I cannot put my toes into things. I don't do well. So it fits well. It's not designed for everybody's personality, but no matter what your personality, ADHD or not, introvert, extrovert, those are just labels, by the way. I don't like them. Is you have to commit to commitment. If you're married, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to commit. There is no part-time marriage. That's called dating. And that's testing the waters out. Once you go all in over here, it's a whole different game, man. It puts a responsibility on your shoulders, and failure is not an option. And that's what makes a tremendous difference when it comes to going the wholesaling. So now I want you to understand this. When you go on wholesaling, I'm talking about the word wholesaling. This is what I talk about. Can I teach you creative financing? Yes, I teach you basic strategies on it so you can identify when it comes in. But the single highest skill set you can learn in real estate, in my opinion, and I don't think it's just my opinion, is wholesaling. Why? Gives you the greatest amount of reward with the least amount of risk, with little to no capital, doesn't care about your background, doesn't care about your family's background, your education, doesn't care about your criminal background either. Some of you guys have made mistakes out there. I get it. But it only cares how hard you're going to work. That's it. You do not get credit for school, for previous experience. You have to go out and cut it. And even if you came from an amazing sales background and you think you got it licked, you still have to go out and earn it and compete against every other wholesaler. That's why I love it. So here's what I don't want you to do is don't be a pseudo wholesaler. Almost said wrestler, same thing. What do I mean by a pseudo wholesaler? This is what I mean. People think they're wholesaling, but they're acting as if. They're acting as if they're realtors, they're fix and flippers, and they're speculators. Guys, these three things right here have nothing to do with wholesaling. In fact, realtors, occasionally we use them, but for the most part, we don't as a wholesaler. Fix and flippers, they're usually our cash customers, meaning the people we sell our properties to via assignment of contract. And speculators, this is where I find most wholesalers wind up. They try to analyze a property like they have millions of dollars of cash to buy it, and they don't. Speculation is a guess. And people that can guess like that, and if you have the capital and the means to do it, you can speculate. But most wholesalers, you don't even have the capital or the means to speculate, and you still try to do it, disguising yourself as a wholesaler. Don't do it. It doesn't work. Be a wholesaler. The problem is if you try to be a realtor, a fix and flipper, a speculator, and a wholesaler, I promise you, wholesaling will go to the wayside. It has nothing to do with these. And everybody thinks they can do it all. In the beginning, just learn wholesaling. You can graduate to any of these that you want to do. But for God's sakes, don't be a realtor. And somehow, somewhere in here, somebody's messed you guys up and told you had to go get a real estate license. I'm going to tell you, getting a license, to me, unless you're forced to, I mean forced to, meaning it's the only way, meaning you've read the law head to toe, you reviewed it with your lawyer, then that's the only exception I can make is this. Now, if you're a previous former realtor and you still have your license and you want to do it and just keep it, yeah, fine, whatever. I'm fine with that. I actually commend you for it. But if you're a wholesaler and you decided to watch somebody's video or someone told you to go get a license, make sure you get the facts. Because wholesaling is a fundamental right in your Constitution. It's called contract law. And you can, in the United States, all our constitutions being tested on a daily basis. Don't be a wimp because somebody told you to go get a license. How is a license going to protect you against a lawsuit? It's not. In fact, it puts you even more in the crosshairs. I'm not going to get into the details here. I've been through multiple lawsuits, and I'm telling you, people with license are held to a much higher standard. You get no more credibility from a homeowner because most of them don't like realtors to begin with. And then you have a boss if you work for a broker, and then you have to answer to a board for any complaints. So the only people who can complain to me, you can go to my mom. That's it. You complain to my mama because that's the only person who accepts complaints from Rick. And everybody else, I don't care. It's just the truth, guys. Getting a real estate license only creates more problems for you. So I don't want you to act like all these other things, and you've got to understand that. So now that we know that, how do we get into all this stuff? And here's the problem is, you guys are being pitched so hard by gurus. I'm in the exact same feed you guys are in, between Instagram, Facebook, you name it, especially TikTok. My God, it's unbelievable the amount of crap that's being pitched to you. And A guy who's done this 21 years, I know what works and what doesn't work. And I will tell you this, anyone who tells you like, you can do this and you don't have to compete with other wholesalers, they're just getting in your back pocket. I'm sorry, guys. I saw one today. Find as many motivated sellers as you want on MLS. I mean, the sentence doesn't even make sense. There's very few motivated sellers on MLS. I know I'm not, this is not breaking news. This is not CNN telling you this. Most people put their house on MLS to get the tippy top dollar in the white glove service. It has nothing to do with wholesaling. Are there motivated sellers in MLS? Yeah. Less than 1%, probably 0.2. That's it. The amount of energy you're going to take to sort through all that, but somebody eventually will sell you a piece of software or an AI tool that says it'll do everything for you. The only thing it's going to do is take the money out of your pocketbook, put it in theirs, and then you're going to come back to me in 3 months even more frustrated than you were originally. So what I'm saying is you cannot substitute. So let me ask you this. If I told you, so we always talk about a marathon versus sprinter. If I told you, hey, listen, I know you want to run a marathon, but I have this product, I have a piece of software, or I have a patch or a band, and I'll show you how you can cut your marathon time in half just by buying my product. I guarantee somebody would buy it. Thousands of people would buy it. Why? They bought the hype. They bought the sales pitch. There's no way it can do it. You cannot do it in wholesaling either. I've tried everything, guys. God knows I've tried everything. There is no substitute. The path is the way. The obstacle is the path. As Ryan Holiday says, the obstacle is the path. You have to go through it. There is no shortcut. Which brings me to the next one. Except there's no shortcuts in wholesaling. Can I do novations? Because I heard I don't have to do wholesaling. Go for it. It has nothing to do with wholesaling. You're just being a pseudo realtor behind the scenes. You're really acting without a license. And honestly, you're acting as a pseudo lawyer with fiduciary responsibilities that you are breaking with every one of those recorded affidavits, those liens, those fictitious liens, and your fake contract. How do I know this? I know this. I've done business for a long time. I know how a novation works. I don't like them. And they're sold as the workaround to wholesaling. Why? It's a shortcut. The only thing it is a shortcut to your pocketbook to get into theirs, to sell you something that's not going to work, and you're just going to come back to free wholesaling probably in a month, not even 3 months with that. So what am I telling you in the end here? It's simple. Just do the work. Like, after a while, after you've done this business long enough, you've tried every workaround, you've tried every cheat sheet, every piece of software. It says, hey, I'll do this for you. And now you guys are being inundated with AI. Don't get me wrong. AI is a tool to help you generate leads faster, sort information quicker, and doing it at a much reduced cost. But do you think the average homeowner is going to let a bot, a recording, close them out? And you've heard some of the stuff people say, like when you're trying to buy their home. How in the heck is a computer going to replicate all that? It's not. At the end of the day, it's going to be you that closes people. It's going to be you that gets the deal done. AI will assist you to get there faster and cheaper. I 100% agree. But do you really think real estate's always going to need realtors? It's just the truth, guys. No matter what happens with this NAR thing in the settlement, which me and Zach done countless videos on it, people still need realtors. Why? Because people are they need help. They don't know how to negotiate. They're too emotional. They're too attached to their properties. They don't know a lot about real estate, and they don't do enough transactions to keep educated. So realtors will always be here. How they do it will be a topic of conversation till the day we die. How much they get paid, hopefully we have a free market and we can stop just paying a standard 6%. But I'm the first to admit realtors are needed. Why? Because people are too emotional trying to sell a property. People are too unrealistic and they can't deal with other people. That's the truth. That's why you need people to get stuff done. And the fact that real estate is usually the largest asset people sell, you've got to take the one surprise element out of it, which is the seller, because they're extremely emotional, just like the buyer is. And when you put them both together, they just fight like cats and dogs. And look at the realtor as the mediator, the babysitter that gets the deal done. That's what it takes. Why? Because they dedicate. They go all in and they're committed to their craft. And I give realtors credit that do that. But for the most part, you're never getting a realtors. As long as there's realtors, there's going to be wholesalers just like you and me. There's going to be fix and flippers. And there's always going to be the speculators. They're not going anywhere. AI is just going to make it faster, cheaper, and quicker to get it done. So what I find the best thing you can do, and this is a big one right here. You ready? And we're all guilty of this. God knows I did it in the beginning. Is you constantly go on the internet and you try to look at other people's fees that are doing what you're doing, wholesaling. You're like, how's he getting 2 or 3 deals this month and I don't have one yet? And you're instantly trying to do what? Comparison. Comparison is a thief. It's going to steal all your joy. There's 2 people are not alike. You're in different markets. You have different levels of experience. You have different backgrounds. You have different resources at your disposal. Some people are more resourceful. Some people have more grit. And you cannot sit there and compare people, especially on social media. I'm here to tell you, most of the stuff you see on social media is just complete bull. That's why they call it fake book. I'll probably get in trouble saying that. But do you really think you're going to, it's just a highlight reel of people's who they think they are. You're never going to see the full truth about people on social media. So why do you keep trying to live up to it? Once you understand this, you know you don't have to try to keeping up with it. Stop trying to keep up with everybody. We tell you not to keep up with the Joneses. You know that's not going to work out for you. So why are you trying to keep up with every other wholesaler around you? I was guilty of this for years, guys. And I found out real quick those other people weren't doing nearly the business that they actually said they were doing compared to what they were actually closing on the books. And if you're holding yourself to a standard that's not realistic, maybe you're trying to stay level with a sprinter. Sprinters are a waste of time. They're always going to run faster than you no matter what you do. That's why they're sprinters. And remember, the only reason they're ever running faster is because it's fake. It looks good. It always looks like they're faster. In theory, they're just a tortoise in a shell and they're not even moving. They're probably going the opposite direction. Learn to be a marathon runner. What do marathon runners do? Think about this. They set their own pace. When a sprinter runs by them in the first mile, they don't care. It does not change their race game plan. It shouldn't, neither in wholesaling. So when you do it and you're running a pace, think about this. Somebody sprints by you. What is your plan? If you have a plan, you execute it and you continue it. If you don't have a plan, you wind up doing comparison and you try to keep up with that sprinter. And how do you keep up with the sprinter? You just keep throwing them money. And then you find out it's all fake in the end. You just wasted your time. So guys, stop trying to compare to yourself everywhere on the internet. It's literally a waste of time. What do I want you to do? Number 1, ready? Trade your excuses with actions. Now, this is going to be a hard conversation right now, once again. But if you ever find yourself giving a ton of excuses, honestly, some of you guys don't even know how many excuses you come up with. I hear them every day. I hear them all the time. The reality is the more excuses you come up with, the less action you're going to take. The only reason people give excuses is to validate a story inside their head, and it makes them feel good. Well, here's the problem with excuses. They only feel good short term. They will crush you in the long run, and it will never work. And if you don't understand that, you're going to get killed. So if you find yourself making excuses all the time, here's what I want you to do. Number 1, recognize it. Just recognize it. That is the first rule. Here's the reality. If you've made excuses for a majority of your adult life, you are not going to fix it overnight. So the first thing you do is recognize it. Why? Because it's subconsciously ingrained in your mind. You've been conditioned your entire life to your fault or not your fault. But once you know you're making excuses, the first pattern you have to break is identifying it. Because most of you can't even identify when you're making an excuse. You think in your head, I'm just telling a story of what you think the truth is. Remember, the truth is just your perception of what current events are. That's it. So when we say the truth, he or she could have the truth, I could have a truth, and if we believe it, then we consider it the truth. So recognize it. Number two, once you recognize it, start journaling and writing down and know the excuses you commonly go to and write them down and record them. And then your job going forward is to eliminate those excuses. Remember, even if you have a valid excuse, do you really get anywhere if you constantly voice it out to people? Here's the truth. The more times you keep giving people excuses, the more you fall on deaf ears. Why? Because people just get tired of it and they start recognizing your patterns. And for that reason alone, excuses will take you out. So recognize them, write them down, and then try to consciously prevent from doing it. So instead of doing excuses, look for actions. So if you get on a live with me or I meet you in person or something like that, you would be a lot better off working on actionable steps than letting me hear 10 minutes or 5 minutes of your excuses. Because the reality is after about a minute, I just tune you out. Everybody does. This is how excuses work. Why? Because it's just a story you're telling yourself to validate how you feel at this moment to make you feel better. I'm not going to endorse it for you. It's never going to happen. And nor is your family, all the people around you. And once you identify it and know it, you understand how that works. And last but not least, real simple. Okay, Rick, I get it. I want to correct these items. I want to go all in wholesaling. I want to get rid of my excuses, replace it with action, stop comparing myself to anybody else, understanding I have to do the hard work. There is no substitution for wholesaling. Anyone who tries to sell me something is just trying to get in my pocketbook. So what do I need to do? Simple. Let's think about this. You don't need a 90-page action plan. Here's this. Ready? Just start working on the best version of you each day. What does that best version look like? Let me give an example. If you go, hey, Rick, I've tried everything in wholesaling. I mean, I've thrown the kitchen sink at it. Nothing works. Okay. Instant excuse. And you want me to validate why you can't do it. I ain't going to do it. I'm like, if that's how you believe, then I wish you the best. And I'm going to end the conversation with you there because I can't take any actionable steps with that. What am I going to do? So go, Rick, hey, listen, I called 26 people today. I failed. My target was 100 and I didn't make it. I just had a mental breakdown and I couldn't handle it. And I'm trying to go through what's stopping me to do it. Can you give me any feedback on what do you think is mentally stopping me? Now, there's something we can talk about. I'm like, you just need to put tomorrow behind you. And how many calls can you make tomorrow? Can you commit to 100? Okay, don't call me back till you hit 100. End of story. That's your actionable step. Your only path then is to go through it. Your obstacle is your way. You have to run through it. You have to make 100 calls or Rick's not going to talk to you again. That's the penalty. That's it. Do you see? That's an action. One's an excuse. Excuses, you just talk and like there's nothing gets solved. If you come up with an action and a plan to fix it, you can actually take measurable steps to move forward. And that's all I'm ever asking you guys to do. So last one, this is the easy one. Authenticity. Just be yourself. Stop trying to be other people. Stop trying to wear tennis shoes or a jacket or a hat like your famous wholesaler, like influencer. Like honestly, the world needs more people just like you. And if we all wind up being clones and imitated each other, what's the point? I love that God made everybody unique and different, and you need to take advantage of whatever skill set was given to you by God and run with it. People know if you're authentic. If you're not authentic, you stick out like a sore thumb. And if you don't believe me, trust me, the crowd around you will tell you if you're being authentic or not. It's simple. How do you be authentic? Be comfortable in your own skin and just enjoy being who you are. And stop trying to impress everybody. Remember, stop worrying about what everybody else thinks about you. So guys, that's it, man. That's all I got on that. So what I want to do is answer some questions. We can jump on and do some lives. As I said, right here on there, if you have never done wholesaling before, or you got ran under the bus by a guru, I apologize. Unfortunately, you're in a long list of line. I think 70% of the people that buy a guru product are extremely disappointed and would love to have a refund. So here's your refund. Go over to freewholesaling.com and I'll help you out there. Remember, I don't only help you get your first deal. I show you how to get to your first $100,000. It's really easy. Here's the secret. You have to put in the work. Me and Zach aren't going to do it for you. We're already doing the work. We've done the work. I've done the work for 21 years. You've got to show me that you're going to put in the work. If you're not going to put in the work, there's nothing I can say to motivate you. There's nobody could do anything. So many people in America, they just want the end destination and they don't want to go on the road to get there, and it's never going to work in wholesaling. So if you're going to try that, you want to do every trick and you want to be manipulated, you're going to get your clock cleaned in guru fees. And honestly, you got it coming to you, because if you buy into this hype, you're going to get killed. So freewholesaling.com, I put it on the bottom there. Let me answer some questions here. Let me put it up here. Awesome. And we got the lives there. I appreciate Ethan. Like, my shoulder's getting there. I can't lift anything with it, but I can at least set it down on the counter. Still can't sleep on my side, but we're getting it. What's up, AD? Appreciate it. Okay, I started some questions up here. Let me start up here. Let's see. What's up, Jonathan? I appreciate Jonathan. Jonathan's been coming on here for a long time. Hopefully I've opened his eyes up to you, to wholesaling, as many as others. So let's see. I love when you guys answer most of your questions. Can you tell me if it's possible to do the New Jersey market? I was told. So here's your problem with this. I was told that there's nothing I can do with that statement. That's like saying I've heard, somebody said, or Facebook told me. Listen, who told you? A highly experienced, crafted wholesaler? Or did you just pick that up off the internet? So here's what I'm telling you. There's plenty of people do New Jersey. By the way, I know 3 people I'm personally friends with that do really well in that market. They're from that area and they know it well, and they do well with it. But is it difficult? Yeah, Florida's difficult. California's difficult. New York's difficult. Like, what do you define difficult as? So what I want to tell you is stop taking advice from people that you have no credibility with. If you guys just take feedback on social media, you're going to get killed. So here's the first thing I tell you. What is the average median price for the area you're looking to do in New Jersey? New Jersey's kind of a big place. Plus, it's got a lot of spreading areas out around it. Maybe if New Jersey's not the target, start with average median price and the average population for the market you're looking to do. And you're cured to that. Even if you thought it was too busy or you don't want to do it there, just go to do virtual wholesaling. It is 100% legit. Me and Zach do it across the country. You can do it. You just got to pick out your markets and understand what you're getting into it. Go over to freewholesaling.com and show you how to do it. So awesome. Okay. So right here, like even Marcos Parsting, remember I told you about it. He's looking to do virtual wholesaling in Indianapolis, and he wants to JV. He's looking to cold call, and he's looking for someone to help with driving for dollars, reverse driving for dollars, and maybe do some boots on the ground. So anybody in that area, reach out to him. That's how you do it, guys. That's the best way to do this business. So hats off to you. That works. Okay. So Jonathan's 5-year-olds. You should bring them on the live and show them on person. I love it, dude. I love the energy on everything. So let's jump in. Let's do some cold calls. If you guys want, I pinned it up on a comment. It's under Rick Ginn. If you want to jump on and do a live, I will put it up one more time in case you guys missed it. And that way I know I've given everybody a fair shot. So let's jump on the lives here and let's do it. So Jonas, you there?
Hello.
Jonas, how you doing, man? Long time no see.
I'm good. Yeah, a long time no see.
What's going on?
Yeah, so yeah, I just had a quick question.
Shoot.
I don't think you mentioned how you bring up the inspection period when negotiating.
Well, So part of this, I know you're not in the United States. So part of that is it is customary for all real estate transactions to have an inspection period. It's customary. So you don't have to like, it's not like this. Sellers don't act like they've never heard of this before. The only thing that is negotiable is the inspection time. That's it. So let me give you an example. Realtors on average will ask anywhere from 7 to 15 days, occasionally 20 to 30 for a special project. So the expectation with most realtors is going to be 10 to 14 days. You understand that part so far?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we're buying our properties, we're usually looking for problematic properties that are off market. So I don't get as much pushback for like the realtor inspection days. In a perfect world, Jonas, a perfect world, you would get a 90-day inspection. That's perfect. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, you and me don't live in a perfect world. Do you agree?
Yes, I do.
So the minimum you want usually is 30 days. So you're trying to cover at worst a 2-week gap. And here's the rule of thumb. The more time you get for an inspection period, the more flexibility you have. And usually you have more options to get your deal sold. Now, someone like me that does a lot of property and I have plenty of capital, I can do tight windows. I don't care. But in the beginning, absolutely not. Everything was 45 to 90 days. Like I was scared to death to do 30 days. It goes by really fast with weekends. And so you got to understand it. So the only exception, if you have a buyer that's already preloaded and ready to go, and you'll know he'll pay X amount of dollar for a property, and they only want like a 10-day inspection, the day you have it under contract, you better be reaching out to that cash buyer to have them committed to an assignment of contract and a non-refundable deposit, because you do not want to drag these on. The other rule on the inspection is please don't wait till the final day to try to get out of the contract. Remember, when you want to get out of an inspection period, you just have to send them notification, usually an email and text, if you have the ability to mail a letter. But that should suffice as long as you show a timestamp on it. You don't need their permission to get out of a inspection. That's the beauty of it. Past the inspection, you need their permission to get out of the contract, or you could have implications legally. So knowing that, if I have a 30-day inspection, please don't wait till day 29 or 30, because it's you know how people are, well, is it on a weekend? Did it really hit? Usually by the 25th or 26th day, you want to give them notice, because sellers get really pissed when you do it at the end, and they could still find a way to try to go after you for it with a lawyer. And so if the lawyer goes, listen, he ended at 5 days before his inspection period, there's no gray area here. That's why I like to do it. I sometimes used to wait till the last day. The only time I did that is when I had really short inspection periods. And there's something that happens with the seller if you wait till the last day to get out of an inspection that really pisses them off. And it goes real bad. You have no chance of negotiating it down, and they get really upset with you. So that's having a longer inspection period just gives you the luxury. Also, when they go, well, Jonas, you try to get out of the contract, I'm going to sue you. Knowing you have an inspection period, that is not an option. You cannot go to court and sue someone for the inspection period. It's impossible. They'll have to find something else to sue you on. They're going to be a breach of contract. If you have an inspection period, there is no breach of contract. And that's all you want to do. So the standard is 10 to 14 days with a realtor. All I'm asking is you got to take that 14 to at least 30 days. And honestly, if you have a really beat up property that's vacant, it's got a lot of issues, you want to go out somewhere between 45 and 90 days.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, just how do you, I've gotten pretty good at negotiating price, but how do you bring up the inspection period? So let's say you've agreed on a price, and then you just.
So I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm newer to it, I just slip it on the contract and let them pull it out of you.
Yeah.
You got to know your client, your seller's temperament. If their goal is to try to get the property sold in 30 days and they give you a really good deal, don't put a 90-day inspection period, because they're going to get pissed off. But if you're getting a good deal, but it's not great, I would just put in a standard like 45-day inspection. and then see if they sign it and go back and bounce back on you on it.
Yeah.
It's up to you. It's all a give and take type of deal. A lot of sellers, remember, they're not working with the realtor. It's not an on market deal. Some of them don't even know what an inspection period. I've had some people that, like 50% of the people I write contracts with, they don't care. They don't. Remember, this is conditioned by realtors. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to write contracts and have them not stick. Okay. So I'm not like, for a long time from 2014 to 2021, there was people out there teaching just throw everything under contract. Everything's going up in value so fast. Don't even worry about it. I do not believe or subscribe to that theory. I believe you need to write property for the correct discount as a wholesale. And if you have that, and the only thing that's negotiable is the inspection date, some of it depends. Are you doing this internationally, which I know you are, so you're going to need a little bit more time. Now, if you're in a local market, you can condense that time because you can do things much faster. So there's a lot of variables that go into it. I don't like to give sellers surprises, but for the most part, if the house is vacant and it's run down, they never beat me up on the inspection period. It's the nice, pretty, perfect houses. They want to move fast. They will question you on it. So if their goal is to have the whole thing sold in like 30 or 45 days, it wouldn't make sense to put down a 90-day inspection period. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's common sense. So a lot of it's catered to like, what is the urgency of my seller? And number two, what's my experience level? Am I doing this internationally? Am I doing it virtually, or am I doing it locally? Local people can go much faster. Most local people can get everything within 30 days. Why? Because it's easy. If you did this in your backyard, Jonas, and it was perfectly legal wholesale, 30 days would be a piece of cake. It's not that. That's a considerable amount of time. But being overseas, 90 days is ideal. And then you got to find the comfort level somewhere in between. 30 to 90 is what we ask for. I've had inspection periods as long as a year on a very complicated probate or a property, because all you're really doing at that time, you're doing a back-end option contract, right? That's it. Like you're optioning it for some future date down the road. So sometimes it's never a big deal. I find when the house is vacant and it's run down, they never ever question my inspection period. If they're living in the house and they want to get out of there like pronto, they will go after you. Now, it's very standard for 30 days though. 30 days is not hard to get. You're only going from 14 to 30 days in realtor world. Actually, realtor world is 15 days. So an aggressive realtor term would be 3 days, but those are like extreme conditions on the most part. Usually the least amount of time a realtor will do is 7 to 10 days. And then usually they're like, and by the way, the realtor contract, if you leave it blank on most state approved contracts in the United States, I believe it's 15 days. So 30 to 90, you'll be good.
And also, on your, I'm doing really a lot of probates, and on your marketing piece, it says, you can sell the property without completing the probate process. Call me how to see how it's done.
Yes.
And that's how you kind of lure them in to go on appointment. But virtually, how would you?
So you got to understand, you got to know, you do have to be a little bit familiar with the state laws, because, we basically have 48 different state laws here. Now, the good part is they're only broken down to 2 or 3 sections. Like most states adhere to this type. I'm not a lawyer by any means. So here's how it normally works. I'm just going to give you the layman's terms. A probate is a legal process to wind up a deceased person's basically financial and legal affairs when they've passed away. The main part of it is when they're signed on bank accounts, when they're signed on deeds, when they're signed on titles. I bet a dead person obviously cannot sign that over, correct? So they created this process, probate. I'd be really interested to see how they do it in your country, by the way.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, so it'd be a good research. But I mean, everybody dies, and so we all have to deal with it. And so they go through a process to make sure that the last will and testament is carried out precisely. And the probate gets complicated when there's no will. So the idea is, what's the biggest asset most people own in the world?
Their house.
Real estate, right? So to think So Jonas, if I passed away tomorrow and said, "Hey, listen, you're getting my house, and it's a big fat house, and like I let it run down, and I got a big fat mortgage on it." You're like, "I don't know if I want it." And there's a lot of people on probate like that. And then when they have it, they got to pay the mortgage, they got to make the insurance payments, they've got to maintain the lawn, or they got to shovel the snow off the roof of the driveway. It just they got to maintain the air conditioning or the heater, and it drains people. And most people are just trying to get by anyways, right? And the last thing I want to do is take on another house. Most average people don't own multiple homes. So the laws made an exception for this. This says, listen, a probate is a process. It covers all legal arrangements to wind them up. So the house being the biggest one, they've made an exception there that you can liquidate the asset to preserve the estate. So if I had a $300,000 estate and this piece of real estate is eating me up $3,000 a month, if it took a year, that means the estate is going to be worth $36,000 less. So what they do is if the PR or the executor, personal representative, decides that they want to liquidate this asset, they could actually have the lawyer file for a motion to okay the sale of the property. Now the money goes to the estate. Now, when that money goes, say the house is worth 300,000, they get 300,000. That $300,000 sitting in a checking account, it's usually bearing interest, and it actually helps the estate out. So the idea is it stops being a burden on the estate. Now you can do it with cars, you can do it with trucks, you can do it with RVs, but usually most people only do it with real estate because of the financial drain on it. Real estate lawyers will not tell you this, probate lawyers specifically, because they feel the longer it goes on, the more money they can make from their clients. That's just the truth. I'll get yelled at if I ever get confronted by one, but that's the truth, and that's why they do it. So by the way, I've done over 230 of them. I have case like, and once you've done one, you can just show everyone, hey, look at this house on Fifth Street. It was the same thing. But you have to have the cooperation of the seller, and the seller has to instruct the attorney, not you. You have no say or do with the attorney. And usually what we do is coach the seller to talk to the title company, and the title company knows exactly what type of motion needs to be filed with the court system. And it doesn't cost any extra money. And so if you have, there's different types of probates. If a couple's married and they're on joint tenant, they can file for like an express, a summary judgment, and you can have, I've had the property sold in 46 days from the time I entered into a contract. Now, not all of them can be done that way, but for the most part, it happens all the time. Just people don't know what to say or what to ask. So what you want to do is get a contract with your seller, straight line direct with them. If you do that, then you don't have the attorney running interference with you. And then you work with your title company on what's the motion needs to be filed so they can sell this property. And then the money goes to the estate, and it stops bleeding. And the probate just keeps going on as normal. Make sense?
Yeah, but you know, I've talked to a real estate attorney in one state about this, and they said that you know, I'm not a lawyer, but they said that you sign a purchase sales agreement first, and then you file a petition to liquidate the asset. But I'm just a little worried, you know, to try because most sellers say that, you know, I can't do anything until the probate's over. How do you?
Because they're all programmed by their lawyer by that. It's not
Yeah.
true. So what you need to do is get factual information from your title company in that state showing how you can do it. It's simple. I didn't come up with this, by the way.
No.
I asked my title company, everybody wants to wait till the end. I'm sick of this. And then that's when she goes, you know, there's a little technique to where you can liquidate the asset. I go, tell me more. And then I met with a probate attorney. He verified it. And then I met with a county judge. He says, absolutely. I wish more people would use this. Done. That's how I come up with it. I just solved the problem. And then once I solved it once, I solved it 236 other times. That's it. Like, so like everybody, I was sitting there waiting on like 9 probates. I'm like, I'm going to go broke waiting on the probates. Show me a way out. And all my sellers go, I would do anything to sell this property right now. Okay. So, but you do get resistance from lawyers. I've had lawyers completely stalled. I've had one lawyer disbarred because they refused to do it. Not me. The seller just went after them. They were so pissed. So I'm just telling you, there are some exceptions in some states. I can't speak for all 3,200 counties in the United States, but I'm just telling you, probate, it is designed with intent, understanding a house is their biggest asset. Some people get stuck with a house they cannot afford. So if they can't keep the payments up while they're going probate, people have lost houses in foreclosure, and the laws has made exceptions so people don't go broke trying to honor the last will and testament of their deceased loved ones. And that's why it's there. So most states have exceptions for this. Start with your title company first, and then work it backwards from there.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
No problem, man. Danny, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Rick?
How you doing,
Hey,
man?
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I know a while back you had mentioned something in a video about sticking away from, maybe like the first year or two when properties are delinquent in their taxes because of this. You said something about financing their taxes, and I had no clue what that means. And I was wondering what you can.
So I do this technique too. When you own a bunch of property, is not that I have cash flow issues, but when you owe hundreds of thousands of dollars in property taxes, depending on what state and when they're doing it. So let me just work for Florida because that's where I play a lot in. Property taxes are due November 30th. That's when the bill comes out. So you get them the first week of November, last week of October. If you pay it by December 1st or 30th, you get a discount on it. It's like 2%. And then if you go into January, it's like 1.5%. And if you go into February, it's 1%. And then by March, you owe the entire tax bill. Well, honestly, 1% and 2% is not a big incentive for people that have money. Like it's $1,000 discount on 100 grand. So what we do is so if we're waiting to leverage money or something like that, say I've got a big closing coming and I owe 180 grand in property taxes, which is roughly what about I owe, I'll just hold that bill off. Because I know I'm paying a finance rate for it, but it's not. So you got to understand 1% a month, that basically equates to I could borrow 180 grand at 10 or 12% from the tax collector. Now, I don't want to go too far, but I will push it. Now, you get an example. There's a gentleman in my area that owns a ridiculous amount of property. He owes about $7 million in property taxes a year. He literally waits till the day they go to file the tax sales certificate. And then some of them, he waits till the tax deed sales are posted because he's playing the cash flow game. You understand that?
Yeah.
So most of us will only do it for 1 year because after 2 years, it gets really expensive. So if someone's behind in their first year, I don't really put a lot of stock into it because most people, on average, people behind 1 year, 80% of them will make good on it. So it's a numbers game. Now take 2 years, you got a big problem because most people at an average salary can't make up 2 years of property taxes. And if they're behind in their property taxes, they're probably behind in their credit card, their car payments, and everything else. It's going to happen. The other thing you have to consider in a variable in it is look at the average median prices of homes on the tax delinquency list. Avoid high. So if your average house in your market is 350 grand, don't be chasing around 500 to $1 million homes because they're all going to play the financing game. They all do. Like I do it. I play it. We all play it. Somebody else taught me this. I'm like, why can't these people don't pay their taxes? So my tax roll is like 33,000 people. I cut it down to basically 1,400 people. Why? Because all the others are playing games.
Yep.
Plus, I'm not going to chase down $1 million homes. You're not getting them on the tax delinquent roll. You're rarely going to get them. And honestly, if it winds up being a divorce situation, it's even worse because by the time you get in between lawyers and all the other crap, they're going to need full price for the house, even if it goes to auction. So does that make sense to you?
Totally.
Okay. So it's just people, when you have finance options and you got like lots of money, people will go to the person that's going to give them the path of least resistance, which is the the tax collector. But after 2 years, there becomes like public record. Most people don't care about that, but then it gets expensive because once they start bidding on your tax certificate, it can go up to 18 to 25% depending on what market you're in. And that gets expensive.
Okay.
And nobody wants to do that. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope. That's it. Appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. Okay, let's see here. Azam, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. What's going on, man?
Oh, I was wondering, after you sign a contract with a seller, when can you advise them to start moving out and packing their things?
Well, I mean, they can move out whenever they want because it's their home and it's their prerogative. So, but that's, I mean, it's kind of their call, not your call. So most people will tell you what their plan is. Sometimes people sign a contract with me and like that weekend they're moving out. Okay. But I want you guys to understand, if you don't have experience and you're not sure your contract's sticking, I'm not going to overly push it. In fact, I'm here to tell you, most people that sign a contract, a minimum amount of time, if they're living in the house, is usually 30 days. So have you ever moved?
I have, yeah.
It's painful, isn't it? Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of prep and a lot of planning. So most people don't move overnight unless they're habitual movers. Now, I've been a habitual mover ever since I've been on my own because I just get bored. It's part of my ADHD. But most of the time we're begging people to move, and more than half of them ask us for an extension. Like, oh my God, it's so much more than we thought. We've lived here for the last 20 years. We've got a lot of stuff from the kids. So now if it's a rental property, it's a whole different story on an income producing property. But when they live inside of it, very rarely under 30 days. In fact, don't be surprised if they ask you for an extension. It's hard to move, guys. It's expensive. It's a pain in the butt. And it's very, and some people try to move one house and move in the other house the next day because they're just trying to save money. So most people don't have the luxury of moving into like a new home or a vacant home while they're trying to sell their other home. So they try the day they close, they take the moving truck and they move into the new home and they try to time it perfectly. Make sense?
Yeah, my main concern was like if you get them under contract and they pack everything up and they're ready to move, and then your contract falls apart, right? Your buyer backs out, and they're kind of left like hanging, like they don't know what to do, and you don't know what to do because they already packed everything up, and like they're like, oh, I thought you were gonna buy the house from me, but it never ends up actually happening.
Yeah, but most people do not move out until they're past their inspection period.
Okay,
it's just a smart move, right? I mean, would you pack up and move if you had a 30-day inspection period on your house?
No, I would wait.
So we just kind of let them know. But once again, I'm not out here to have you guys write contracts that are like pie in the sky and like you're crossing your fingers someone might buy it. If you're buying them for the right discounts and wholesaling, they should move. They should move 9 out of 10 times. If you're not sure what you're doing, I just get longer inspection periods or find houses that are vacant and are beat up because those people don't care. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. You do have to be responsible to the homeowner. I'm not looking to kick people out on the street if you have no intentions of buying that house or selling it to a cash buyer.
Right.
You got to be responsible about it. So if you have fears with that, look for the abandoned houses, the rundown rental houses, because they'll give you the longest inspection period of time. In worst case scenario, so I'm also think about like vacant land is really, it's not that hard to flip. It's not nearly as profitable, but like you never get people attacking you. Like, why didn't you close on it? It's a piece of land, for God's sakes. They're not living on it. So just keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I was willing to deal with people who are occupying the property. I was just wondering, it was like in the back of my mind.
But think about this. If you get a really deep discount on the property, you're very confident you can move it, and then you would be okay whenever they move. The problem is when you get really tight in your numbers and you're not experienced in the business and you don't have a good cash buyers list, that's where the fear and the animosity comes in. Like, oh crap, what if they move out? What am I going to do? So I've had it happen to me. So like, I know the feeling. It's not fun, but you can't tell a buyer what seller what to do. Sometimes if they already planned on moving, then let it be. It'll actually be easier, even if you had to get a reduction in price. But remember, we want to sign contracts under the commitment we're going to get them moved. And that's how you have to look at every deal. Virtually, it's much more challenging. If you're doing it local, you should have a very high stick rate.
Okay, and you've never had like an issue, I'm sure you have, but have you had an issue where after the close date, the seller won't want to move out, like they'll take the money and they'll just occupy the house and they'll kind of like squat?
No, that's a condition of the sale. They got to move out of the house.
Okay.
They don't get their money unless they move out. I like the only exception are investment properties with tenants because that's just the nature of the beast. But for the most part, I really don't play that game. Now, occasionally we have what we call a post-occupancy agreement. And that means the seller's staying for 1 week because they had to wait for their sister's truck or something like that. And then what we do is hold like $10,000 back in escrow. And they have 7 days to vacate. If they don't vacate in 7 days, I automatically get that money.
Okay, I got you.
So if you do a post-occupancy agreement, don't ever do them past 2 weeks. 30 days is dangerous business. And depending on what state you're in, they could be considered a squatter, and then you got worse issues. So do a post-occupancy agreement, and your title company will help you with that. And set aside 10 grand. Why 10 grand? It keeps people, if they don't want to do it, it means they're not going to move out of the house. If they go, yeah, 10 grand's no problem, then that means they plan on moving out. And if they don't move out, you even went out with more money. And you got enough money to pay a lawyer and an entire crew to get them out of there.
Okay. Also, I heard Zach saying the other day in one of your videos that you guys don't JV in Illinois.
Correct.
Okay, because I'm in Illinois.
Yeah, I know. I just like there's issues with it legally, and we're still looking for workarounds on it. But at this time, we don't have it.
Is it because you don't have your broker's license in Illinois?
No, I'm not getting one. I'm not getting one for the state of Illinois. Sorry. Like, listen, beautiful state, everything like that, but it's some of your politicians are absolutely they're crazy.
Yeah, I'm getting mine just for the purpose of
I
wholesaling.
know, like you're in one of the states where it's the rare exception. That's about the only one I say that you do what you got to do. But it's just kind of ridiculous. We don't want the scrutiny. We do a lot of deals. I just don't want the scrutiny with it. And if I have to go get a license in every state, I got to hire a whole nother department in my company. And there's better ways for us to make money right now. So it doesn't mean I wouldn't do it. If I had a phenomenal commercial deal, I would consider it. But a lot of the Illinois laws are they're so anti-real estate, they're difficult. So it's a great place to flip. You got to be careful over there, okay?
Okay, so even if you're dealing with an individual that's licensed, you wouldn't JV with them?
So we can't scale it because it's complicated. So we get hundreds of deals submitted to us, and we just logistically, we have to be careful with insurances and stuff like that. So at this point, we don't do it. Okay. I'm honest with you. I just tell you the truth.
But it's still possible. You could still wholesale in Illinois, even.
Yes, you can, but you have to be accountable and understand your laws and what your responsibility is there.
Okay, yeah, and
There's plenty of people doing it. And by the way, it's a BS law. It's to try to force you to get something that has nothing to do with wholesaling. Those real estate licenses are a joke. It's so stupid. It's a complete. I'm telling you right now, if they ever took it to court, it would never stick. But nobody wants to play that game. Why do you think in the state of Illinois, how many people you think have wholesaled more than one property in the last 2 or 3 years since they came out with this law?
I'm pretty sure everyone who...
It's nuts. Not one person's ever been held accountable. You could sit there, you could pay a guy and make millions of dollars in fines based on that law. But the problem is it's a state law. But the problem is the federal law says the complete opposite. So you have that kind of like that cannabis problem, so to speak. Mm-hmm. It's against the law federally, but like they make it legally in the state. Well, they did it the opposite when it came to wholesaling in some of these laws. And so if you notice all these new state ones where you see all these gurus do these fear videos, if you ever notice, it's now the state trying to override the federal law, which to me is a much easier position to defend. Now, if you're going to do the opposite, where the state's trying to override the federal law, that's ridiculous. But federal law supersedes state law for the most. So I'm not a lawyer I don't even know how it works, but I'm just telling you, when a state writes a law that undermines what the federal law allows you, which is the U.S. Constitution, I think it's ridiculous. We have yet to see in 3 years one state pursue any of these, which leads me to believe they know it's unenforceable. So I would love to set up a fund, or because someone says, why don't we sue the state and get it fixed? The only way, you have to bait them into it. So they're going to have to sue a wholesaler. I would love to be able to set up a legal fund where, say, a wholesaler gets attacked. Go get the baddest, like Johnny Cochran person and let him unleash on this thing. It probably costs $100,000 in legal fees, $150K. Because remember, they have unlimited funds. And then once you win one lawsuit, that's the case law. We all just shove it down their throats with. That's all we need. That's all you need. All these people talk about, oh, we're going to do a organization, all this. Screw that. Set up a lawyer fund. Go find the 2 or 3 badass ass lawyers, and then when it comes up, have them ready to go. But the thing is, they're like, dude, it hasn't even come up. Even the lawyers are laughing at me. I've already talked to 3 lawyers. They're like, I don't know, call me when it hits and we'll work something out. But easier said than done. Nobody wants to fund someone's legal things. So when it happens, if we did that, I'm telling you, all this nonsense would go away. Ridiculous.
One tile company is also like, wouldn't they be scared of getting prosecuted?
For what?
Like operating with individuals without licenses, like they're doing.
That's not their job. It's not the job of a title company. They oversee the title. That's it. They're not. They have to follow the laws on the HUD, but that's it. Like they're not. They're under no restriction at all for that. They're not on the hook for it. They have to follow what, like if they interpreted every little real estate law, they would have to have a full-time legal staff, and you would never be able to afford title insurance. Now they can say no, it can be their policy, but it doesn't. I have title companies say no to me all the time. But remember, they have to follow the HUD, which is set by the federal government, of who gets paid and what's allowed on a HUD. But here's the problem, like with everything going on with NAR, more people are going to be selling their homes on their own. And so it's actually going to be easier for us wholesalers, because the average person might be selling 2 or 3 homes a year now. And that person's now going to be deemed possibly a wholesaler because they sold more than 1 home, especially in the state of Illinois. You're telling me if you own 2 homes there, you can't sell one without a real estate license? I mean, what kind of country is this? It's crazy. Don't even start me. I got a fishing license. I used to fish without a license all the time. You know what the definition of a license is, right?
The ability to do something legally.
Yeah, your government taking something away from you and selling it back to you. That's what a license is. Now, I believe I believe doctors should have licenses. I think you should have a license to drive a car, but like after that, it just gets out of control, man. Like most of it is they force you so they get additional taxes. We already overtaxed to death. It's ridiculous. Illinois is really bad with taxes.
Yeah, tell me about it.
You're going to sneak up there with Chicago. California. You keep up this rate. So.
Yeah, and it's nothing like California either. So it's not.
I know. Is it warming up there?
It's up and down. It's very moody. You can't really get consistent temperature.
Okay.
But
hopefully this helps you out.
One more question. What
Yes.
days and what times do you guys have your live videos?
So on the Rick channel, I do it 5 p.m. Eastern on Monday nights. And then Zach does Sunday night because he's a younger man. He goes at 10 o'clock Eastern time. So Sunday and Monday, we do our personal channels, 10 p.m. Eastern for Zach, 5 p.m. Eastern for me. And then Tuesday and Thursdays, we do Flip with Rick. And that is always at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, and you'll have the same setup. Like you can have the live chat and the live.
Same thing. Yep. We just talk about wholesale.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Okay, see you. Okay, guys, listen, if you got value from this, do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe and share this with a friend so they can get the truth on wholesaling And if you guys want to get started, go over to freewholesaling.com to get started today. I appreciate you guys. I will be on tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern on Flip with Rick. Join me over there. We have a great conversation. I'm going to surprise you with it. I think you'll enjoy it. But catch me over there. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Make sure you check out my son's channel on Ginn. He goes live Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And I appreciate you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Later.